You know, when I think of education, I think of Mary McLeod Bethune, a very successful, hardworking African American woman who trailed the blaze many years ago and established a college for African American students. And so there's many that we could talk about that have created a path that allowed me to be here to serve and that allowed many prior to me an opportunity to receive a good quality education in spite of the odds that were against them. We have a civil right, it's a basic civil right to allow every person an opportunity to receive a quality education, but the disadvantages have been there so tremendous that we're playing catch up in our communities. Many of our communities that are low income, the reflection is at the school. There's teachers who aren't as prepared. There's overcrowded classrooms. There's outdated textbooks or no computers at all. And so we find ourselves still in a position that we have to fight to receive quality opportunities for young people of color.
We have to have an education system that everyone can attend, or at least have the opportunity to go. So accessible, and with accessibility comes affordability when we talk about, continuing education. One of those markers that said that yes, you can have education, that you've accepted the fact and can't get away from the reality that blacks were going to be educated. We were going to be able to learn how to be competitive. You can be part of the effort to make sure that was success or not. But the thing is we had to also make sure that we had all the tools so we can be equal as well. Having attended schools in a predominantly black community, we had our books were from 10 years before. So yeah, we were learning, we were getting an education, but you certainly couldn't say it was an equal education going forward. I mean, I recall some of my history books not only having been written all inside already, but many pages were missing. So that just compounded the miseducation of black people.
Black women are often unrecognized for their influences within the American culture as it pertains to education, whether it's in the workplace, learning institution, public life, or in the home. Women bear a lot of the responsibility in educating young men and women of today's society. In the past, there was a great time of social unrest for the black community. Still today, education is one of the most talked about themes in life and in the protests for black Americans. According to the 2011 Census Bureau by both race and gender, black women have the highest percentage rating for enrollment in college than any other group. It is important to recognize and celebrate the contributions of African American women as they continue to rise above challenges, break down barriers, and build bridges towards success.
I wanted to talk about a movie that just came out that is setting everybody on fire. It's Hidden Figures. And the reason I wanted to talk about it during Black History Month is because it highlights three women that we didn't know about. Three women, Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson, who all worked at the NACA, which was the precursor to NASA. When I think about the history of these women and the fact that it's almost angering to me that I never learned this in school, that there were women in the 50s and 60s that were capable of doing these kinds of calculations at this level when it came to science and engineering. The thing that is so special about this, when I really take it through its full curve, is that this is 1953 into the 60s. Katherine Johnson didn't retire from NASA until 1986, I believe. But in 1992, Dr. Mae Jemison was the first African-American woman to go into space. And that was a full, 40 years after Katherine Johnson was hired at NACA, which was the precursor to NASA. 4 African-American women who put indelible imprints of history on the public consciousness in math and science and engineering. And coincidentally, they're all members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So happy Black History Month.
I'm proud to talk about a guy by the name of Jesse Russell. I've never met Jesse, but Jesse went to the same college I went to, graduated around 1975. And he's known for the fact that he's one of the innovators of the 4G network. He had around a 13 on the ACT, and he wanted to be an engineer, and they told him that based upon his performance at Tennessee State, well, when he was in college, he went to Tennessee State, but when he was in high school, based upon his performance, they felt he didn't have the ability. And he stayed persistent, and they told him if he graduated, if he had in his core courses after 2 years at least a B average, that they would allow him into the School of Engineering. 2 years later, he had A- average, graduating in electrical engineering, went on to Stanford and received his master's in engineering. And now he's one of the innovators of the 4G network, and some subtitles list him as the father of the cell phone.
The role of education is simply to help people gain knowledge, to equip them with the information so they could be prosperous citizens and really align with what everybody believes that society is supposed to be. Their behavior patterns, their attitudes, their beliefs, the value system that we all believe that our society should have. I think that's the role of education, to instill those values, those core principles, so that society runs smooth. Higher education has to be more cost efficient, has to be more accessible. When it's talk about K through 12, we have to spend the resources earlier so that the younger generation has a great foundation for education so they don't stray the course. And the more we invest as a youth, the better they're going to be off long term. So first, the investment. We have to invest early and often when they're younger. And then once they get to their secondary education, when it's college and trade school and above, we have to make sure that the roadblocks are eliminated with high debt, access to capital. We have to make sure that those things are not burdensome, so that young men and women have an opportunity to excel their education and be contributing members of society.
Part of making sure that every young person has the opportunity to learn how to do great things is making sure all our students go to class. For the past 4 years, I've worked closely with the Illinois Attendance Commission to study the effects of truancy and find ways of fighting it. This past year, Chicago Public Schools has reported its highest rate of attendance in years as a result of policy changes, but we still have so much more to do. This Black History Month, I want to encourage everybody to be aware of this problem and to join me and my colleagues in the Senate to find ways of fighting it so that every student has the opportunity to reach for the sky and their God-given potential.
For me, I grew up in a family of 6 kids. We weren't the Rockefellers. I know a lot of families out there in my community are in the same position. You know, and the one thing my parents stressed to me was if you get a good education, and you apply yourself and you work hard, you're going to do very well in life. And for me, education is priority number 1 because our future, our assets of our state are our future generations, and we have to invest in them. In the military, you know, when I fought with men and women of different colors, different races, of different religious beliefs, is that, you know, when you look at us on the inside, we all bleed the same color. We all bleed red. We're all people. We're all humans. And every person should be afforded the opportunity to get a great education, regardless of what your race or gender is.